The condo market in Toronto is absolutely dead, and it seems to get worse every single week. And the pre-construction market is actually even worse. So if you look at the 2024 year-to-date sales for pre-construction units in the entire GTA, we're looking at just under 1,800 sales total. And the 10-year average for this time of year would put us at just shy of 7,000, meaning that pre-condo sales are down about 74%. And with resale condo inventory climbing weekly, but sales actually decreasing, the resale market's not faring much better. And obviously, in order to build a home, you first have to sell it. And with pre-sales down so much, inevitably condo starts and housing starts are going to crater in the near future. All this at a time when liberals are pumping over 125,000 people every single month into the country. What's up, guys? It has been a while. I've been busy, not selling units, trying to wait out the bear market, but it appears that that is not possible. So I'm back in action. I'm back in the front lines here. I'll be posting more regularly. I just wanted to show you guys this because we spent some time building this out. Whenever I show a 3D model of the future of Toronto with all of the upcoming buildings, people always ask me, how can I get access to this? So we spent a bunch of time trying to convert Steven's model into a web accessible version. So you can see here, anything in this dark gray is rental or commercial, and anything in green is a condominium that is selling now, and anything in blue is a condominium that is either sold out and under construction or something that will be launching in the future. Look at that. You can see Bellwood's house right here. Bellwood's house like an island, you know, no competing condo supply in the area. Actually, one of my favorite projects in the downtown core. But anyways, let's get into a market update. I was hoping the next time I would make a market update would be more positive. Unfortunately, guys, I've got really nothing positive to report, but let's get into the numbers. Let's get into the data. I know that's why you're here. So first up, I've just gone ahead and charted the new condo sales from January of 2023 through April of 2024. And you can see the 10-year average for sales. So this isn't like the best year. This isn't like 2021. This is just the 10-year average of what we would normally see for new condo sales across the entire GTA. And you can see that we've been running under the 10-year average, you know, since the start of last year. But it gets really bad heading into this year. So pre-construction sales are at an absolute all-time low. We're talking about, you know, a 74% drawdown in volume. And this is why you're seeing so many incentives from developers that you never used to see. You know, they're paying interest on deposits. Some of them are paying it upfront, not just as credits on close. They're extending deposit structures as much as possible. You know, the reality is there's only so much they can do in the way of price because you have your line items in terms of your cost to build the actual building. And of course, whatever you paid for the land is what you paid for the land. And of course, as a result of the massive decrease in new construction sales, not just in the condo market, but also in the freehold market, we are going to inevitably see new housing starts crater. So this is a chart that Ben from Edge Analytics put together that basically shows, you know, you can see condo starts here heading up, but of course, new condo sales have cratered, and so new condo starts are going to crater as well. And as far as single family starts, you can see we are already back to about the 1990s levels of single family starts. So freehold starts are not faring any better. In fact, they're already worse because the supply cycle on them is so much quicker, right? So if sales drop, then starts drop much quicker, whereas condos are under construction for 4, 5, and 6 years. So it lags a little bit more. And even with the housing start lag in the condo segment, we're already seeing Canada hitting a housing supply deficit, setting records really. You go back, you can see the data goes back to the 70s here, and we've never quite seen a housing supply deficit to this level. But the population growth charts are, like, I can't help but laugh when I see these charts. It's a level of unhinged that I don't even really know how to put into words. Because if you think about housing starts cratering at the same time as our immigration breaking all-time records, it's very unhinged and very confusing to watch take place. I'll just kind of leave it there. I don't want to devolve into politics too much, but it's a little odd. I mean, you can see it here in the January through April growth in population. Sort of the 2007 through 2022 averages, you would expect to see about 110,000 people during that period of time. And in 2024, we've seen over 400,000. So, you know, the housing market's very bearish in the short term, but long term, I don't know how these supply demand fundamentals get worked out when you're looking at numbers like this. You've got things like the new housing plan that says we're going to build 3.5, like it's just not going to happen. You can see it in the data. It's reflected in the data. Housing starts are already decreasing. They're not going to magically increase overnight, especially when nobody is buying new homes, right? So if no one's buying them, they're not getting built. That's just that's the way it is. Now, if we shift focus to the resale market, you can see inventory is building above the seasonal norms. And this is at a time when our actual sales volume, so the sales velocity, is lower than seasonal norms. So it seems this year the spring market hasn't really, there is no spring to it, okay? There is just no spring to the spring market. It's just kind of flat in terms of sales volume, but it is not flat in terms of listing volume. In particular, the condo market in downtown Toronto. So if you see the dotted blue line here, it is the condo inventory, the resale condo inventory in Toronto, and it is absolutely ripping. Entry segment for the condo market is absolutely flooded right now, so $500,000 and $600,000 units. And the reason for that is essentially you've kind of got two buying pools for that entry segment, you know, the one bedroom condos in downtown Toronto. You have first-time home buyers trying to get a foot in the door of the housing market, and they're not qualifying at today's rates, right? So they're kind of off the table for the most part. And then of course you have investors, and investors are totally out of the door, right? Nobody wants to be an investor at these cash flows. So the reality is you have very few investors trying to pick up good deals. And then of course you have very few first-time home buyers actively looking in the market right now. So you can see that rapid increase in inventory at the same time as sales velocity actually slowing down into the spring market, which is of course unusual to see. And that just means that sellers aren't going to see much relief. Now, the one thing I will say is that condo prices have remained relatively stubborn despite the sheer amount of inventory on the market and the sheer lack of buyers. So I've been kind of surprised, more or less, condo prices are back to sort of 2021 levels, which feels like it's been the case for about 6 months now. So you can see this example unit here just sold for $500,000. And back in 2021, it was fetching $515,000 on a higher floor. So, you know, it feels kind of like condo prices have been on pause, at least in the downtown core, for 3 or 4 years now. Now, if we shift back to pre-construction, which is my bread and butter, my favorite segment of the market to look at, there is some interesting data points I want to show you guys. At least I thought they were interesting. So if you look at March of 2024, we saw 601 pre-construction condo sales across the whole GTA. 25% of them were in Toronto proper, in the 416, and 75% of them were in the 905s. And so I find this interesting because historically it's very abnormal, right? Most condo product launches and sells quickly in the 416 and not so quickly in the 905. So if you look at March of 2021, we saw 3,504 condo sales, which is obviously a massive difference in volume in and of itself. So you can deduce a lot about the current investor sentiment in the condo market just right there. But when you go a little bit deeper into the data and you look at 416 versus 905, you see sort of the historical norm of the split between the two, where 70% of the condo sales happen in the 416 in Toronto proper and only 30% happened in the 905s. A big part of the reason is that the rental gap, the rental premium, hasn't really returned to downtown in any meaningful way. So if we take a look at two recent leases at basically brand new buildings, one in the entertainment district and a similar unit in Vaughan, you can see that the rental difference is like $150 a month. You're talking about $150,000, $200,000 price difference. And so that's why the few investors who are still picking up pre-construction units are doing so in the 905s. Again, long term, I think a rental premium will inevitably return to the downtown core. It's just not going to happen as fast as downtown core developers want it to happen. So obviously at precondo.ca, we get a lot of traffic, organic search traffic for pre-construction related search terms, and traffic is down, right? And it's not just for us, it's for every pre-construction based website in Canada. So if you look at the new condo search volume in Canada, you can see it drop in 2022 and it has just never recovered, right? And now we get into the tale of two markets. So in orange here, we've got Toronto condos as a search term in terms of popularity. But what's interesting is if you look at Calgary, so Calgary condos in terms of search volume and interest, there is almost as much volume for Calgary condos as there is for Toronto condos. And that is, again, a reflection of just investors, right? So a lot of investors who would otherwise historically purchase in Toronto are thinking about and actually purchasing in Calgary because the numbers just work better, which is fascinating. I think it says a lot about our local market when the numbers are so bad, but investors still want to invest, right? And so they're willing to invest in a different province. And it's not like we're some small European country. Like if you're investing in Calgary, you're investing a 4.5 hour flight away. Like it's a significant distance for you to own an investment property, a real estate, a local based, investment. To me, that's a fascinating trend to watch. And you can kind of see why that is here. So, basically every major metro across Canada is seeing a sell-off in real estate. Calgary is seeing prices continue to increase. A big part of the reason for that is their population growth. So Alberta's population growth is currently the fastest in the world. Canada as a whole is holding spot 6 here on this chart. And this is, again, a crazy chart to just look at, because just look at the company that we are keeping here. It's really kind of jarring to see this chart in this context, given when you look at the other G7 countries where they are currently in terms of population growth. And I get a lot of questions from past clients or friends and colleagues about when I think the pre-construction market will come back. And honestly, I think it's going to be a long time, because when you look at the amount of standing inventory in the pre-construction market, you're talking about 16,500 units. At a monthly sales velocity of about 500 units, that's 33 months of inventory if no other projects launch, right? And for the most part, other projects just aren't launching. It's very easy to look at the start of 2024, see how many launches there were versus how many there used to be, and you can very clearly tell that most developers are holding off because most projects that launch into this market are more or less dead on arrival. There's been a few surprises, but really not many. You have a plethora of standing pre-construction inventory out there. All of those developers are launching new incentive packages and all kinds of different marketing strategies, and they're all competing for the eyeballs of the pre-construction buying pool, which is now 20 or 30% of what it used to be. And so it's just a really competitive and hard market to get any foothold in. And so I don't think the market's going to recover in the near term at all. Obviously, the first time we see a cut, sentiment will improve and investors will start to think about pre-construction differently. But I really don't think it's going to be like gangbusters overnight, where the sentiment just shifts and like sheep, everyone's just back in the game, submitting worksheets, submitting bank drafts. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a very slow and steady recovery over the next 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. If you want to explore the 3D model, just go to precondo.ca/3D and shoot me a DM or a message or whatever. Would love to know what you think. And I will see you guys next video.